Whenever you ask someone about the best indie horror games that you should play if you're new to the field, most of the answers usually include titles like Visage, Madison, and Infliction, and this is mainly because these games succeeded in using the inspiration from PT to make a truly terrifying experience. They are extremely scary, and they have an interesting story that suits their dark theme. However, there's one game that matches them in atmosphere, visuals, and overall scares, but simply gets ignored most of the time. The game in question is none other than Hellseed, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it if you're a horror gamer, but if you're not into horror, it seems like a mystery. The demo of this game came out in 2020, and it managed to catch people's attention because it looked too chilling to overlook. It felt like it got everything right, especially the environment and the way the scary stuff was masterfully designed in the right places. But before I talk about what went wrong with this game, let me first explain to you the story here and what your mission is in it. The events take place in the city of Turin in Italy during the 1980s, and this is a logical setting because it was created by Italian developers. In this city, a team of Italian physicians at a psychiatric institution notifies the authorities about the disappearance of a fellow colleague in mysterious circumstances. You play as a detective who was assigned to unravel this mystery and went to the doctor's residence to gather clues and evidence. Once you enter this house, there's no coming back, and you'll immediately feel that there's something creepy about it. You can find stuff that can help you understand the background of the doctor, including a photo of his daughter with a line in the back saying, "I miss you." And you also find an expired identification card from the doctor and a weird police report from 1972 that states how police received an anonymous call reporting disturbing noises from the house. But once they got there, the doctor and his wife said that there's nothing abnormal and that it was just a quarrel for personal reasons. One of the best things about this game is that everything you find here literally means something, and you can find hints everywhere that you must put in your inventory because you might need them at some point. But regardless of the plot, nothing beats the atmosphere and the beautifully dark visuals of this uncanny house. Everything looks genuine, and the design is extremely suitable for what this game wants you to feel. The developers intentionally wanted the place to look exactly like what an Italian house from the 1980s would look like, and this really makes you want to discover it even more. The old doors are also very realistic and reflect the real shape of the home, considering that it was abandoned for a long time. However, exploring this house is far from being the simple task that the detective was hoping it would be. The entire abode is completely dark, and your flashlight is your only source of light, which seriously makes the exploration here an absolute psychological torture because you don't even know what you are looking for, especially before you repair the electrical panel. But despite the spookiness of the darkness, things reach a much deeper, alarming level when you start experiencing paranormal events that make absolutely no sense. This includes the tap in the bathroom turning on by itself and the doors slowly opening by themselves and making a chilling, squeaking noise. Even though these signs are eerie, you can still try to ignore them and assume that everything is normal. However, suddenly, the background sounds shift to a much more sinister tone, and you start hearing disturbing whispering that has no meaning. It kind of feels like it's something of an unknown language. But once you go to search for its source, you find big traces of blood that lead to the basement, which has a locked door. Hearing these whispers in the game while wearing your headphones is something that creeps you out big time because it feels like it's in your ear in real life. Anyway, when you decide to go look for a key for the basement, the door somehow unlocks, but once you try to move towards it, you encounter a freaking jump scare that takes your heart out. The way the lamp falls and shatters feels very realistic, which really shows that the developer worked with care in the small details. From this point on, you start to actually believe that there's something beyond logic happening in this house, and you might not be the only one inside. The basement is also very unsettling, with weird noises everywhere, and there's a box shaking as if an animal is inside it. But when you open it, there's just the bolt cutters. What I also loved about this game was the amount of detail in the gameplay. You always need to find something to use with another thing, and everything is connected. Whether it's a key, a ladder, or a cassette, you always need to pay attention to everything. This makes you stressed, but it also proves to you that the experience is not a walk in the park, and you must act like a real detective. You will keep investigating different areas until you finally see a dark apparition casually walking in front of you. This is when you really confirm that there's no way in hell you're alone here, and whatever is with you, it doesn't look like a normal human. Eventually, you'll manage to restore the electricity, but you'll kind of wish you hadn't, because once it's back, a swarm of rats shows up from nowhere, and they're very harmful too. You finally leave the freaking basement, and man, seeing the lights is pleasing to the eye and gives a sense of relief. But if you think your problems are over, then you're insane. The strange movements intensify even further, and the windows and doors start opening and closing on their own. And so far, you don't even know why. Beside that, apparently restoring the electricity gave you more issues because now you have to deal with unexplainable flickering lights. I swear, every few feet in this house involves something disturbing that gives you chills, and in good order too, not the random stuff you see in other games. After this shake, which is triggered by the fall of the hat, you realize that you're reaching a dangerous point here, and there's something that might not only be scary, but violent as well. You catch your breath for a couple of seconds, and then boom, the word knock starts showing up all over the walls before the door suddenly opens, and you hear the sound of a female crying. You go to check it out, but you see a red light coming from the room. You get yourself together to go inside, but before you can even reach it, a baby stroller passes by. You have no idea what might be waiting for you in the cursed room, but you must investigate the source of the crying. When you reach it, you'll find it all in red with creepy images on the walls. Once you try to go to the door to see who's crying, everything disappears and the phone rings.
It's Toscani. Who am I talking to?
Hi, Inspector. It's Angela from the department.
Have you discovered anything?
We did some research in the Land Registry archive. The villa was purchased by Dr. DeSantis about 20 years ago. From the blueprints filed 5 years earlier, we know it must exist. A passage of about 50 meters down in the cellar. Maybe a bunker dating back to the war. The strange thing is that the doctor filed a new document last year, in which this passage no longer exists.
This call from your colleague gives you a clear hint that The doctor who used to live here is obviously hiding something, including a secret passage that you need to find. In fact, the hints around the house also indicate that he has some issues with his wife and daughter. Not necessarily that they're miserable, but it feels like the doctor is suffering from something mental. And you can sense this when you see stuff about mental disorder drugs, including schizophrenia.
It sounds like it's coming from upstairs.
But as I said earlier, the paranormal events in this place simply don't stop, and the incredible visuals intensify them. You hear sounds from upstairs, but when you get there, you find nothing. But just when you think your problems are over, the lights go out again. You go to investigate until you end up in the kitchen, where you see the fridge door open, indicating someone other than you opened it. But once you close it, you'll regret it immediately. We don't know who the heck that man was or why he was carrying brains in his hand, but we know that he's obviously not friendly. The weird part, however, is that the lights come back after his disappearance. You keep following the noises and the sounds, but you'll also discover that you can hide in this game, which is never a good sign. After finding the arc door key on the kitchen's floor, you'll enter another area of the house, where you will eventually find the secret passage that your colleague mentioned. It's very creepy and proves that the owner was using it for something sinister that we don't know, but as you're investigating, someone will start chasing you, and you need to hide fast.
You can't save yourself.
It's unclear who this woman is, but she is very aggressive. After gathering some wooden boards, you can finally escape and block the door, but you still don't know who this insane person is. As usual, the house keeps getting creepier. Doors open randomly and you see apparitions, but they vanish without a trace. You hear the sound of a baby crying in the bathroom, but all you find is blood and a key in the toilet that you're too disgusted to touch until you get some gloves.
That's too disgusting to touch.
After a while, a weird door will open and the whispers will come back, and then boom, it's him again. Trust me, I lost 2 years from my lifespan because of that jump scare. Anyway, seconds later, the weird, noisy sound comes back and you can see the red light behind the door, but it's blocked. Then you hear the voice of a little girl singing and playing with a ball. But as usual, she's not anywhere.
There's something blocking the door on the other side.
I think this is enough to give you a general idea of how insanely good this game is when it comes to atmosphere, visuals, and how the scares feel genuine, as if something you would expect in a real haunted house.
Hello, Doctor. We haven't met before, so allow me to introduce myself. I am a spiritual advisor. Some months ago, you met a subordinate of mine who left you a business card. We understand you're going through a tough time and we want to help you.
This recording is another proof that there's something messed up with the doctor, and it seems that he had real issues psychologically, or maybe even went down the route of rituals and dark spiritual stuff. I'm not going to delve deeper into the plot in case you guys want to play it, and trust me, I didn't spoil most of the game for you because it's actually much longer than this, and there's another entire chapter that takes place in the psychiatric hospital. The problem, however, is that despite all the features that I praised in this game, I don't believe that I really should recommend it to you, at least now.
Why? 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 Why?
Even though this game got almost everything right when it comes to the horror aspect, it simply got one thing wrong, which is optimization. The reason why this game didn't blow up in popularity and reach the same level as games like From the Darkness is because the gameplay is simply full of bugs. If you go to its page in Steam, you'll find the negative reviews praising everything about it, but they just hate the fact that it's broken. It's been almost 2 years since its release, and these issues still occur even in 2024. People even acknowledge that it's up there with the best indie horror games of the last 10 years, with the likes of Visage and Madison, but the bugs ruin this beautifully crafted game. It's really sad because it feels like talented developers missed a huge chance to go mainstream, and it's all because of a simple reason called optimization. Incredible visuals, check. Eerie atmosphere, check. Interesting story, check. Good timeline and setting, check. Rich and complicated gameplay, check. But only the optimization box remained unchecked. Even though it is mentioned on Steam that it's an early access, I'm convinced that the developers are having a hard time fixing the issues, and this explains why people who buy it are still complaining even after 2 years of the release. I have a feeling that merging the chapters of the story into one big game contributed to this problem. The game was initially divided into 2 chapters before the developers decided to combine them into one product, and I think that caused some bugs in the process. However, this doesn't mean that we should give up on this game completely. I personally played it a long time ago, and I can't judge its state right now, especially since my gameplay standards might be different than yours. For some people, the bugs are not a big obstacle to enjoying the experience, but for many others, they simply slow the immersion down and take a lot from all the amazing elements that you can encounter in the house. Either way, this is definitely a title to keep on your wish list if you're not deciding to buy it immediately, because I'm pretty sure the developers will figure things out at some point. The only sad thing, however, is that this issue has killed the momentum of the game's launch, and the mixed reviews label gave it a bad reputation among people who are not familiar with it, which is really unfair, to be honest. This is why I didn't want to talk about the entire story of the game in this video. I wanted to keep something to talk about in future videos and also allow people to keep room for experiencing the full thing by themselves. Because I know that gamers who watch this channel are hunting for good horror titles all the time. They lurk in the dark and they show no signs of fear or hesitation about anything. It's not easy to scare them. They simply look at the fear in the eye and force it to surrender. Anyway, I think I'm starting to lose touch with reality here, but I believe you guys get the point. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and tell me in the comments what you think about Hellseed and whether you believe it's a competitor to titles like Infliction and Madison or not. I personally believe so, but I would like to know your thoughts on this comparison. See you in the next video.